There's a lot of talk out there about how hard it is to find a partner in 2023. And I get it. I see where people are coming from. It's hard to be on the apps. We have shorter attention spans these days, and apps don't help because of that instant gratification that we're used to. And it's always been challenging to find a partner who you share the same values with, who you're attracted to, and who you're compatible with on all the different levels that you're looking for that compatibility. So dating is hard, especially these days, but there's something happening that I've been aware of for a long time that I actually don't see that many people talking about. It's something that's making it particularly hard in 2023 to find a healthy, compatible relationship. So that's what I'm talking about today. The truth, as I see it, as to why it is so hard to find a good partner in 2023. Before I do that, let me take a second to introduce myself. My name is Lindsay and I am the Real Love Alchemist. I'm a dating coach, breakup mentor, and energy healer, and I help you go from bad relationships to real love with the magic of subconscious work. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're having a hard time moving on from an ex, it feels like you're never going to be able to get over them, if you're trying as hard as you can to find a healthy relationship and it's just not happening, you may have some subconscious blocks that are getting in the way of where you want to be. So if this is you, click on the link in the description to schedule a free consultation with me, and I'll let you know if I can help. So let's talk about it. What do I really see happening in 2023 that's making it particularly hard to find a good partner? You're not crazy. It really actually is harder. I work with men, I work with women, and so I actually see this happening with everyone. Right now, I see a wave of people who are having a really hard time compromising when it comes to dating and relationships. What do I mean by compromise? Meaning letting go of some of the more superficial qualities that we think are going to make us happy versus what actually make us happy. So an example of that would be letting go of your desire to have someone over 6 feet in favor of someone who would make you truly happy who is 5'10". And now, before I go any further, I want to make it very clear. I am not talking about settling in any way for a bad relationship. That's not my goal here. My goal is to help you break the cycle of bad relationships, so I'm not talking about that. But there's a big difference between settling for a bad relationship and continually searching for the perfect partner who doesn't actually exist. And this is actually a really common dynamic I see in people who are dating after going through bad relationships. We swing to the complete opposite extreme. So maybe in the past we tolerated so much that we shouldn't have. We swing to the extreme of looking for perfection. And we're trying to find a partner that hits all of our arbitrary criteria for what we're looking for in a partner. Now, again, I'm not talking about letting go of the most important things, like someone who shares the same values as you, someone who treats you well. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about needing to have someone who looks a certain exact way, or who makes a certain exact amount of money, or someone who likes the exact same music that we do. Those arbitrary things that don't actually correlate to long-term happiness in relationships, but we get really attached to. We really want those things. And so this is actually nothing new, this dynamic of people looking for all of these different qualifications and criteria in a partner. A lot of people are talking about this. A lot of people blame this on dating apps or our instant gratification culture like I talked about, but I actually see something deeper here. What is it? Subconscious blocks. And I see this because this is what I do for my clients. I help them release the subconscious blocks that are making it hard for them to be open to healthy love. So I am seeing this across the board. Men, women, this is happening everywhere. So what am I talking about here when I say a subconscious block? When we experience painful things, and these could be things that happened to us many, many years ago, or they could be things that happened more recently, this creates wounds. It creates a wound in our heart and in our mind. And I call this part of ourselves where these wounds tend to hang out the subconscious, because we're not always consciously aware of them, but they are there deep down inside of us because the subconscious remembers everything that's ever happened to us. And so we have these wounds that we carry around, and I also call this emotional baggage. We've just been carrying all these wounds around from our past, And if we don't address them, they make it harder for us to be open to healthy relationships. And there's a wound that so many of us were going through quite recently. What am I talking about? The pandemic. I don't think we as a society have really come to terms with how much we were wounded by what we experienced in those years. We really haven't looked at it yet because we're still in it. It's still happening. I mean, it's not as bad as it used to be. Maybe we're not isolating or masking as much, but it's still here. It's not over yet. And so we really haven't had a chance to pause, decompress, get that objective perspective and that distance to really see how we have collectively been affected by the pandemic. And for many of us, we are not the same people that we were before the pandemic. It has left us with real emotional scars. And when we're wounded, when we're carrying around a lot of emotional baggage, we subconsciously close off to love. And that's what I call a subconscious block. And so subconscious blocks can manifest in all sorts of ways. It can show up as you only being attracted to unavailable partners. It could show up as you very easily getting into addictive dynamics like relationships with narcissistic people. But it can also show up in a much sneakier way. It can show up as very, very high expectations for a partner that deep down, you know that nobody is going to be able to meet. So these subconscious blocks actually erode our ability to compromise in a partner because we don't really want to, right? These wounds are like a small child who's in pain. And what does a small child who's in pain want to do? It wants to protect itself. It doesn't want to get hurt again. It doesn't want to be vulnerable. And so I see this happening all over the place. We are having a hard time compromising because when you compromise, you have to be vulnerable. You have to accept someone else's imperfections, including your own. And that's a scary thing to do for any of us. But when we have so many wounds from the past, it makes it so much harder. So I really don't think it's the instant gratification culture or our short attention spans, although that certainly doesn't help. This is mostly what I see happening out there, and that is why it's so particularly hard in 2023 to find a partner, because so many of us are not willing to be vulnerable, and it looks like it shows up as a lack of compromise. So what do we do about it? This is something that I don't know how to help the global society with, but what I can do is I can help you. I can help every single one of you who works with me to release these blocks so that you can be open to a healthy partner. Because they are still out there. There are still some of us who are doing the work or who have already done the work, who are in a place where they are ready for intimacy, they are ready for a real relationship, and so you can find them. I've worked with many clients who are in this exact situation, having a really hard time compromising because they were in bad relationships before and they swung to the other extreme of expecting perfection. And as I released the subconscious blocks from them, they were able to open up their hearts and find an amazing partner who isn't perfect, but really good for them. And I'll be real with you, the happiness that I currently experience in my relationship didn't come from years of looking for the perfect partner. My partner is not perfect, and he will happily tell you that, and I will say the same thing about myself. I am not perfect either. But the happiness came from choosing someone who had the most important things that I was looking for: shared values, person of integrity, is good to me, and really letting go of all of the rest that really isn't that important. And I'm not sharing this to toot my own horn here. I don't care about any of that. I'm just sharing my experience so that if you resonate with this, you can follow my path to happiness as well. The most important thing I was looking for was a partner who was willing to grow with me. And so together we grow and we heal from our past. We're still releasing our baggage because there's a lot, but we do it together, and that's what has made both of us so happy in our relationship. Not the amount of money we make, not how each other looks, although I want to be still attracted to my partner, and both of us are still attracted to each other. But we didn't put that as the priority, the number one thing we were looking for. But the only way I was able to get there was by releasing my subconscious blocks that would have absolutely kept me on an endless search for the perfect partner who didn't really exist. Because remember, it really is not about that perfect partner. That's how it manifests. I was deep down afraid to really let someone in. Because real love happens when we stop looking for perfection and we embrace the imperfection of the person in front of us. And as a reminder here, I do not mean an abusive relationship. I don't mean a relationship that's toxic. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who is good for you, who makes you happy, who you just may feel some resistance to because of the high expectations you have, which are really subconscious blocks. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, Lindsay, I totally have these subconscious blocks, then again, click on the link in the description to book a free call with me, and we'll talk about if I can help and how to get started. If you're out there dating and you're focusing a lot on attachment theory and trying to find a partner from that place, then I have a video for you. I'm talking here about how I stopped focusing on attachment theory and it actually helped me find real love. So check out this video here.